When I first started playing around with Godot, I had a fun idea for a game. You know, as you do, where I combined some different game aspects together into something I had never seen before. But doing so, I realized something. I had no idea how to implement any of the game mechanics, especially the most important one, a swing shot. So to fix that, I thought of a smaller prototype focused only on that one mechanic. My name is Kelev, and this is Sling No Jump, a game where you swing around to find the fastest way to destroy all targets inside a level. Well, it is at least the first prototype I made some months ago. And while this prototype had most of the basic player mechanics implemented, it was also just hastily thrown together and is still missing a lot of stuff. So my idea for this Devlog series is simple. Currently, I have some time to work on games, but I'm also a terrible procrastinator, and without something to hold me accountable, I will probably just let this chance go to waste. So my plan is to release an update on development at least once a week. And since my free time is going to be much more limited in April, I want to release a playable demo at the end of March. I honestly have no idea how realistic a goal this is, since I have barely any experience working on 3D games and even less when it comes to time management of slightly larger games. But I am going to give it my best shot. But before we can get to actual game development, I should first properly define what this game even is and what needs to be implemented for a working demo. In Sling No Jump, working title, you are equipped with 2 hookshots as your main movement option. As the name implies, you are supposed to swing around instead of walking. You will be tasked to destroy multiple targets inside an area or complex. For now, those are just going to be these straw men with an attached target. Your goal will be to find the fastest route to destroy all of them, while avoiding traps, hazards, and patrolling enemies. This game is intended to be kind of a speedrunner game. I have seen some games which attempted this, but those tended to have somewhat linear levels. While there will probably be some linear sections in this game as well, I hope to create levels that are open enough that finding the best route is not going to be completely obvious. Think more like collectathon games like Super Mario Odyssey, for example, which have to be optimized for various speedrun categories. But now with an explicit stopwatch built into the game. So to create this game, I can now make a checklist, which will most definitely not be changed over the next few weeks. First, I want to create a character and really work on the movement options. This is going to be the most important part. I have already started working on this, but I am far from satisfied with how the movement feels at the moment. So this is probably going to take a good chunk of my first development week. After that, I am going to have to re-implement all the game objects. First the targets, and then the traps. I am unsure if I want to implement patrolling enemies this early into development, as I don't think those are that important, and many levels can probably be created without any of those. So for now, I am going to count them as optional. And lastly, I will need all the timing related stuff, meaning a stopwatch and some sort of leaderboard. For now, I will most likely just save your best times locally. I can't imagine that implementing a basic online leaderboard would be that much harder, but it would feel a bit excessive if only a handful of people actually compete. And obviously level design. But I guess I'm just going to squeeze that one in between all the rest. The demo is most likely just going to have a singular level. I definitely think I can manage to implement the systems in a month, no problem. Actually designing the levels, which look decent and feel good to play around on, is going to be mostly a trial and error process for me, and is most likely going to take up most of the actual development time. A big part of that is that I am not an artist and I have barely any experience working with Blender. The few models inside the prototype are actually the first few things I've ever modeled in Blender. And while I'm actually quite satisfied with how they turned out for the prototype, first finding an art style and then working on different models which all use that art style consistently might be the greatest challenge for me. I could just try and find some fitting assets, but I actually enjoy the creation process, and I also think that bad looking models can have a certain charm. And hey, this is only going to be some sort of alpha version, so no shame in switching out models and textures later on. Music on the other hand, well, I honestly don't have a single musical bone in my body, and while I enjoy me some beeps and boops, I don't think there is as much charm in annoying background music as there is in weird models, so I probably am just going to resort to downloading some sound files from somewhere. Well anyway, if any of this sounded interesting to you, feel free to do all the YouTube stuff and let me know if you have any ideas, design or mechanic wise, critique or just know of some great sound assets. With all this said, I'm going to go back to coding, so there's only one thing left to say. Lullaby.